Welcome to Decoding Healthcare Research. Join us as we delve into the behind-the-scenes world of groundbreaking research and the dynamic healthcare industry, interviewing top paper authors, engaging experts on industry-related topics, and exploring medical subjects that affect our daily lives. And now, your host, Dr. E.F. Rain.
Welcome to Decoding Healthcare Research. I'm your host, Efrain Riveros, Dr. E.F. Rain. In this episode, we will talk about the relationship between alcohol and obesity, and it's both of them are actually public health problems around the world. So we are going to explore in depth one of the landmark papers published this year in BMC Public Health, titled The Association Between Alcohol Intake and Obesity in a Sample of the Irish Adult Population, a cross-sectional study. So the author of this paper is with us today. Dr. Salma Rashid AlKalbani. She's a family physician affiliated with the Ministry of Health in Muscat, Oman. Welcome, Dr. Rashid.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Dr. Efrain. I really appreciate your invitation today, and I hope that we will have a fruitful discussion around this article.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So let's start talking about the association between alcohol intake and obesity. What sparked your interest in this topic?
Well, as we all know, as healthcare workers, that obesity is one of the major public health problems, and in fact, it could be like one of the future pandemic when it comes to the non-communicable disease, and it's related to the non-communicable diseases. So exploring the obesity and its underlying causes and contributory factors for developing obesity is a major concern for any researcher. Actually, my area of interest in obesity is that because of the tremendous, implications at the healthcare implication or economic implication at the individual level or at the community level. So it's worth actually to explore further the underlying causes for the obesity wise. When it comes to the obesity, actually, it is a multifactorial kind of problems, and it is not like it kind of like differ from one nation to another nation, and even in the same nation, we do have different prevalence and of this disease with a lot of underlying causes. Feed in the development of obesity and a lot of implication after this developing the obesities at the short and long term run. So this is all about actually the article. So one of my area of interest when we look at the alcohol and it's related to the obesity, it's area of a conflict or like discordant results across nations and different researches. So I thought maybe exploring these problems in a different methodological way can help actually just shed the light on the possible risk factor of the alcohol consumption, and it's related to development of the obesity actually.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned that discordance between studies. As I was preparing for this interview, I went over several studies, and I found that even though it's kind of intuitive to think that there is association between alcohol and obesity, there are studies that are unable to show that. Some studies even show an opposite effect. So I think it's very valuable what you are doing. And you mentioned that the methodology you were going to use was different. In what sense?
Yes, actually, when it comes to the evaluating the association between alcohol consumption and obesity, it's quite interesting. Like different researchers have used different methodological instrument to evaluate this association. Some of the researchers look at the quantity of alcohol consumption. Other they look at the frequency of alcohol consumption. Some they look at very short recall period, 1 day recall period, and others they look at like 12-month recall period and even more than that. And some they said they did like a different, they use different design between cross-sectional, longitudinal studies. But when it comes to the result, we can see there is inconsistency in the result because they use different methodology. In my research, I try just like to implement different method by using something very like well known at international level, that is the audit alcohol, this one audit C, as a tool actually, just like to evaluate this association and specifically look at the association between harmful alcohol intake and obesity indicators, specifically the waist circumference and body mass index. So when we go to the audit C, actually, it's a very simple instrument, and it consists of 3 questions, and it's like a simplification of the 10 questions audit, which is alcohol, this one identification test, alcohol use disorder identification test. So those who have like higher scores of 5 and more, they are considered as a harmful alcohol consumptions. And those who have less than 5 score, they are considered as less or non-harmful alcohol consumption. So when we look at the audit C questionnaires, it's more of like 3 important questions. First of all, what are the, have you have any like how many times you have consumed alcohol in the last year? And in a typical day, how many times you are consuming alcohol in the last 12 months? And the third question, talking about binging drinking, how many times you have taken at least 6 units of alcohol in one occasion in the last 12 months. So these are the basic 3 fundamental questions of the audit C, and this is like a simplification of the 10 question audit, and it's considered as a screening tool for harmful alcohol consumption. Those who are scoring more than 5, they are considered as harmful alcohol consumer, and thus they need further like evaluation and management.
Yeah, and the inclusion of this questionnaire definitely adds value because you are combining like several aspects with just a couple of questions, and it's very interesting. And it's part of a larger data collection in Ireland, right? So can you tell us about that database that you use?
So the Healthy Ireland Survey is like a framework used to evaluate the health and well-being of the Irish societies and try to reduce the inequalities actually in the community by looking at the risk factors. One of these risk factors actually alcohol consumption, and just look at the other like measurement like obesities. So by having this framework, actually they are trying to reduce, to try to shed out the light on the possible risk factor that might lead to development of non-communicable diseases and obesity in general, and try just like to manage them with time. So this is very big data set actually, and I use in my research actually the Wave 3 2017, this one secondary data. When we look at this one, actually, what I am saying actually, that this secondary data help just like to figure out this association in that particular community, in the Irish community. The most important thing about this study actually, because this is the first time actually looking at the association between these 2 important public health problem in Ireland, obesity and alcohol consumptions in that set of population. And compared to other population, these are very highly prevalent actually in Ireland compared to other like communities or other societies.
Yeah, and it's very comprehensive. And one aspect that I really liked about your paper is that you started by making a like univariate analysis between specific variables and the outcome.
Yeah.
And then you started developing a multivariate model based on the initial results, and you refined the multivariate model. You basically developed several models. And I think that's very not only interesting, but definitely adds value. Can you walk us through that process of statistical analysis controlling for confounders?
Yeah, actually, as I said, actually, obesity is a multifactorial. So in my study, when we look at the association between alcohol consumption and obesity, actually, we need just to control for other possible risk factors that might bias this association. So I tried from the secondary data I have, which is the Healthy Island Survey 2017, Wave 3, I tried to figure out what are the possible risk factors after looking at the literatures and try just like to present them as like basic descriptive studies. And these are including the socio-demographic data, including the age, the sex, the educational level, the urban versus rural like state, and those who are employment, and then we have a health related data, that is if the patient is having or the person or participant have past medical history, smoking status, fruit consumptions, and alcohol related variables. So at the beginning I just did like descriptive statistics in the beginning, and then we went to the univariate analysis. When we look at the univariate analysis, we are trying just like to examine each variable at a time. Most of the descriptive, this one, univariate analysis, most of the variable in univariate analysis, either the socio-demographic factors or health-related factors, show significant association between these variables and obesity. And from that, you can see actually how big is the, the interaction and how many variables actually feed in the development of obesity. So it's not like a single factor cause of obesity. So when we are doing any analysis, we need just to try to figure out what are the variables that might compound this association, and then go to the just like try to control for it in the multivariable analysis. When we go to the multivariable analysis, actually, I did two things: the linear regression analysis and the logistic regression analysis. The linear regression actually for the continuous variable, which is the waist circumference. I did like a different model, as you said, actually, just clearly stated. And for the first model, actually, I just like present all those who had these variables, the socio-demographic variables and the health-related variables, which are statistically significant in the univariate analysis, and just put it in the first model. And then I build up the model. Model 2 was only just like adjusted for the socio-demographic variables. Then model 3 was adjusted for health-related variables, plus the statistically significant variable in model 2. And the fully adjusted model, which is model 4, actually is adjusted for the model 3 variable that's statistically significant, plus alcohol-related variables. So you can see there is build up of the variables as we move from model 2 to model fully adjusted model, which is model 4. The same thing in the the logistic regression analysis, multivariable logistic regression analysis. We did like different models, and in the multivariable logistic regression analysis, I tried to use the categorical categories of BMI from 25 and above for obesity or dash overweight, or less than 25 for normal weight, so that we can see if there is any like association between overweight, obesity, and ODC score over 5. So this is basically actually the analysis, statistical analysis I use in my research.
I see. Let's move on to results, because the methodology is very well nice put, and let's go to the findings. So what are the main findings? And I would like you to talk a little bit the instrument that you specifically used. What did you find?
Yes. So when we come to the descriptive result, actually, in the descriptive result, we can see that almost like, maybe this one is not presented actually in the main article, but 8 out of 10 actually participants were alcohol consumers, at least. That means it's very highly this one the prevalence of alcohol intake is very high in this set of population. Again, 1 in 4 they do consume alcohol at least 3 times in a week. So there are they're almost like 23% they are consuming alcohol 3 times or more in a week, and almost 1 in 3 or 1/3 of the study population engage in binge drinking. That means consuming 6 units of alcohol in one occasion, at least 1 times, or this one engaging in binge drinking in general. When it comes to the obesity indicator, the body mass index, actually almost like 40% of the study population were having body mass index 30s or above, and this is quite high. And almost 2/3 are either having like overweight or obesity. So quite very high prevalent obesity dash overweight in this population. So these are the main descriptive finding. Actually, when it comes to the univariate analysis, actually, we can see that there is strong association or significant association between different socio-demographic and health-related variables and obesity. And you can see again the interaction and the big factors or multiple factors that might contribute to the development of obesity-wise. And in particular, when it comes to alcohol consumption, binge drinking and audit C, actually, those who are scoring more than 5 and above, they have like strongly positive association with waist circumference and body mass index. This is in the univariate analysis. When we go to the multivariate analysis, actually, and the linear regression, when we look at the association between waist circumference and the audit C or harmful alcohol consumption, as defined as audit C score 5 or more, we find that those who are scoring like 5 or more in audit C, they have 1.72 times more likely to have big or larger waist circumference compared to those who are less or non-harmful alcohol drinkers. And that one is statistically significant. That means in a simple way, they have larger waist circumference. Those who are harmful alcohol drinkers, they have wider or higher or larger this one waist circumference compared to non-harmful alcohol drinkers. The binge drinking also shows significant association between binge drinking and waist circumference, actually. So those who are having, or engaged in binge drinking at least once in a week, they are more likely to be to have wider or larger waist circumference, and that was statistically significant. So this is when we look at the association between waist circumference and alcohol-related variables. When we look at the body mass index, actually, body mass index, again, harmful alcohol intake was 47, or those who are engaging in harmful alcohol drinking were 47% more likely to have obesity or overweight compared to non-harmful alcohol drinkers. Also, those who are having frequent alcohol consumption more than 3 times in a week, they have less likely to have this one develop body mass index above 25 kilogram per cubic meter. So there is an inverse relationship between the frequency of alcohol consumption and body mass index, and positive association between audit C, which is harmful alcohol intake, and body mass index. Yeah, so these are the main actually finding of the result or the study.
And it's interesting because you confirmed that harmful drinking is definitely associated with the surrogates for obesity, and that's definitely of value. But one aspect that caught my attention is the you found even an inverse relationship between frequency and frequency of drinking and body weight. So why do you think that may be the reality?
So again, when we look at the exact association, the exact reason for positive or inverse association is not fully understood. Just like to state it at the beginning, there are different hypothetical explanation for why harmful alcohol consumption or frequent alcohol consumptions might affect obesity indicator in one way or another. For the frequency, for the inverse association, one of the research actually said that alcohol intake, it might affect the absorption of different macronutrients. That mean carb, proteins, and fats. So it might be, it might consider reduce like the consumption of different macronutrients. But as again, we cannot like confirm that hypothesis because we don't have clear explanation for that. The evidence is not like this one solid on that matter. What's striking me actually when it comes to the positive association between obesity and obesity, different hypotheses were there actually on why alcohol might affect the obesity in such. And one of these actually that alcohol, it might act as the energy from alcohol might act as additive energy to other food intake, the energy obtained from other food intake. So this also increasing the energy consumed might also affect this one obesity indicators. The other things also when it comes to the alcohol intake, it also causes reduce the oxidation of the fat in the body, and that lead to fat deposition in different organs, especially the internal organ and the abdominal part. In the abdominal part, this lead to central obesity and in general general obesity. Alcohol consumption also, there is another third hypothesis that it might affect the cortisol secretion, and the cortisol secretion also can affect the distribution of the fat in the body, and that might contribute to a different distribution of the fat centrally or in general. So you can see, for example, in the binge drinking, there is positive association between binge drinking and the central obesity, but there is no association between binge drinking and body obesity, body mass index, which is general obesity. That means there is like a certain kind of fat deposition with binge drinking, which is not there in the in the general obesity compared to the waist circumference.
Yeah, and that's actually very intriguing, and I find your study has a lot of strengths. One of them is the sample size, the high response rate that you had to the surveys, and the fact that you included so many variables and adjusted for confounders. Let's talk about limitations of the study. What do you think are those in this particular case?
Yes. So, yeah, as you said, the biggest limitation I can see is in this study, actually, the design of the study, which is the cross-sectional study, in which we cannot have a causal, we cannot compare a causal association between alcohol consumption and obesity. When it comes to the face-to-face interview, it might also cause some bias because some of the participants might not disclose the exact pattern of alcohol use, and this is another issue. Actually, the same thing will occur actually with the self-reported questionnaires. Sometimes under-reporting of alcohol consumption is an issue actually with both self-reported or face-to-face type of questionnaires. So this is another limitation of my study. Another limitation, we can say that sometimes the pattern of alcohol consumption differ from between men and women. So I didn't actually stratify the the association between alcohol, harmful alcohol consumption, and obesity in different sex. So this is another like area where the future researcher they can consider when they explore these associations. Yes, and the lastly, actually, the record period, although it's big or longer record period, which is 12 months, but sometimes, recall bias might appear there actually with that long recall period,
Yeah,
These
and
are the
but
main
overall, I
limitations.
think, yeah, I agree. So, but overall, the study is very robust, and I think the main finding is what you just mentioned, that the harmful alcohol consumption is definitely associated with obesity, and that's something that needs to be explored further. Even because I don't think you addressed the difference between male and female, right?
Yes, I didn't do that in this study. Yes,
Yeah, and that's something that definitely has to be addressed in future research. And I think this paper, uh, which by the way is going to be found in the description of the video, is definitely breaking ground, and is going to be the basis for future research. And I think we can wrap up our conversation by saying thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us, and I'm sure our audience is going to get the message, because both obesity and alcohol consumption are public health problems all around the world, and any efforts to try to unveil the mechanisms is definitely well received. So thank you very much, Dr. Rashid, and I hope we can meet in the future again, following up on your research. Thank you.
thank you very much, Dr. Efren, for your kind invitation, and we hope that we have like a very like simplified explanation of this article, and we put some like any building blocks actually for the future research in this area.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Thank you. For our audience, don't forget to leave us your feedback, and see you in the next episode.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up and share it with your friends and family. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. If you have any questions or thoughts about today's topic, we'd love to hear from you. Feel free to leave your comments down below. For more information and references related to today's discussion, you can find them in the video description below. We appreciate your support and look forward to having you back for our next episode.